Hi. So in the last video I mentioned the 4 different versions of data binding we have available in Angular 2. Now in this video we're looking at the first kind of data binding, which is string interpolation. Now we already used this a lot, so will be a rather short video, but nonetheless it'll be in a nutshell everything you have to know about string interpolation. Let's get into it. So I'm again in my cleaned up workspace, basically the workspace as it is when you clone it from GitHub, and if you want to get back to that state, well, you either re-clone it or delete everything and reclone it, or you just delete by hand the new files we created and whatever we changed in this app component file. Now in this app component here, I currently got my hello world text here. Now we're going to mess a little bit with string interpolation. Now let's start. String interpolation is basically whenever we use those double curly braces, right? That basically means Angular 2 take whatever happens within those curly braces and it should resolve to something which we can transfer to a string. Doesn't have to be a string, could also be true or false or a number, but something which can be converted to a string, or basically we will convert everything which results there to a string and output it to the screen or to the DOM at the place those curly braces here appear. So one very easy way would be to simply, let's say, enter a string here with quotation marks. Well, and then that string gets output here. Now let me just add a little bit of margin and padding here so that we can see this a little bit better. Okay, so this is the most basic form. Another form would be 1 equals 1. True, yeah, so this returns a boolean and it gets converted to a string, true. Obviously we can't bind it to a property in our class, so we could have, like we already did this, our name property which says, in my case max, and then we bind it to this name property here. Okay, so now it is bound to that property. We also might have a function in our class, let's say on test, and here we basically test if 1 equals 1, and then here we're returning the result, and I will add my return statement here. And now we got true here too. So we're calling the function here in our string interpolation and outputting whatever this function returns. So that is possible too. Additionally, we cannot only output it to the screen like this, we could also have, let's say, an input field here. Oops, a input. Type should be text. And here we might have a default value, and this default value should be, let's say, the property name. So now we get an input field here where already max is entered into this field because we're binding the value to, well, to this property here by using string interpolation here. So it's a very easy rule whenever you're using a string in your HTML code. So for example, normal text you're entering, or when you, for example, would have a string here, or it could be like this. You could have a CSS class here, and I'll just output red, and now let me create this class here real quick. And now you can see the text turned red because I was binding my class here to this string interpolation, which basically returns a string, namely red, and then I created a class red, and therefore it is able to match that class. So yeah, all that string interpolation really does is take whatever is inside the curly braces and transform it into a string and insert it at the place of those curly braces of that expression here into the DOM. And whenever, as I said, whenever we're using any kind of text in our DOM, we can use string interpolation to alter that. So that's a very powerful feature and one we will often use because, well, as you might have already figured out, or as you already know, we're using strings a lot in our DOM. And therefore, well, string interpolation is a really great and easy way to manipulate it. So that was the first kind of data binding. In the next video, we will have a look at property binding. See you there.